Mm. 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 We start in about 10 minutes. The hype is coming. Greetings, everybody. We start in a few minutes. Well, hopefully this will be real interactive. People tend to be coming later. Good morning, Ike.
Can you see me, John?
Yeah. How you doing?
Pretty good. So, I'm on the way. So I just found a way where I could, I had an emergency. I had to come to Kerala. My mom was not well, so I had to come to Kerala.
Oh, really? Yeah. People come in people tend to come in later now.
Okay. So tell me, when do you want to start?
Well, we might as well start now. People will join as we go along. Okay, so let's start now, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Good morning, this is John Bennett, televising from Miami Beach, home of Neurosurgical TV. We have the pleasure of having Ike Sherry, a long-time televiser, first with Google Hangouts and now with Zoom. And Ike is basically educating the third world on what equipment is necessary or helps, and just basically go over the endoscope and exoscope field. So take it away, Ike, it's all yours.
Thank you, John. So with this series, I was hoping that we can have the beginnings of a new way of neurosurgery. The last half century, what we've done is we've been stressing on writing too much. We've not been stressing for the young neurosurgeons on the skills too much. And we've not been definitely focusing on innovation. So here we are, except in some few centers in the world, we're still using tools which could be best from the Bronze Age or the Iron Age. We're using dissectors, we're using scissors, much less lasers, much less tumor tunnelers, much less other tools. So what I thought is I should tell the young neurosurgeons that it's time that we ask for a paradigm shift. And who will bring the change? It's all of you. So, and how do you bring the change? It is each of us to ourselves by starting something that we can do. So after coming back to India, I decided that we're going to look at what's the best tech available in neurosurgery. What's the most practical best tech available in neurosurgery? Then go ahead and adopt it. So the first thing that we did was to get an exoscope. Now, why is it important, an exoscope? Unlike the microscope, the exoscope has a completely digital 3D 4K image. And this is easier to collaborate with other digital information. For example, if you want to inject a VR image into the exoscope, it's much more easier. If you want to inject the navigation images in VR, it's much more easier. Ergonomics is much better, so you don't have to be married to the eyepiece. Zoom is much better. Augmentation of the image. A digital image can be augmented in many, many ways. I mean, I'll come to it for some time, but we must understand that the digital image, unlike the optical image, can be augmented with or without AI, can be augmented in multiple ways, and that's really important. So shortly, I mean, if you in concise, the thing is, Exoscope is definitely the next stage when you compare it with the microscope. So we decided we're going to adopt the Exoscope. Now, when we adopted the Exoscope, there were not many people who were doing complex cases with the Exoscope. We're talking about 3 years back when we started looking at the Exoscope, and then in the next year we started adopting it. Now in 2 years we've got all kinds of complex cases done with the Exoscope. And this is first thing that I'm going to show you. The second thing that we did was that we adopted an endoscopic holder for our endoscope. We took a robot, an industrial robot, Paracaigital, which has very high safety norms. It's back drivable. It's got beautiful pressure sensors, and the control is so precise. So we took it, we got it to hold the endoscope for us so that we can really do forehand surgery. And plus, now we use the exoscope and endoscope in tandem so that there are many lesions. It's not like we have the Kinevo and the Kivo. It's not like the Kinevo and the Kivo quite. The Kivo is just a looking tool. I mean, the Zeiss also tells you that it's just a looking tool. You cannot operate with the Kivo. But an Esculap Pernesky endoscope or any other endoscope for that matter, which is used for surgeries, can be very well put together on a side-to-side screen, side-by-side screen, and then the exoscope and endoscope together is a very, very powerful combination. So I'm going to show you that. And the next thing, we thought that we need an intraoperative imaging. And we had an intraop MRI, 3 Tesla MRI in Nepal. We decided that we want something much faster, much useful, much practical. So we talked to the Siemens people, and we got a 192 slice CT on the rails. So this scan comes to my OR, does the scan, goes back. In 4 minutes, 10 seconds, the whole process is over. And because my patient's head is not moving or my patient's spine is not moving, it is auto-registered directly. I mean, there is a dongle on the CT scan, it's auto-registered directly, and I see it in VR. So I use Oculus Vive software. I mean, Oculus Vive VR viewer. And the moment the scan is done, I can get it into my, either my exoscope screen for which the work is still going on, or to another screen which I can kind of work around the real thing. I mean, it's not something which is navigated and made just like the other navigations do. It is an image which is taken after the tumor is taken out, or it is an image after the aneurysm is clipped. We're not doing any guesswork here. So this can be taken directly to my field and we can look at it. Now, then we went ahead and did many more other innovations, but this is what I'm going to talk about today. So I'm going to show you some of the surgeries which we're doing with the Exoscope. Can I share my screen, John?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I'm sharing my screen right now. You can see my screen, I suppose?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to show you a few cases which you've done with this Exoscope. So let me show you a paracaigital tumor. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I'm going to show you, now this is an epidermoid which was involving both sides A2s, A3s in fact. So it's involving both the sides A3s, and it was important that we do the dissections under view. So we did a small craniotomy, pretty small craniotomy. There we are dissecting the interhemispheric vein, and we've reached the tumor there. Going on dissecting the tumor from the cingulate gyrus, from the corpus callosum. You know, all my assistants, my nurses, everybody sees things in 3D. So their learning curve is much more easier. They see exactly what I see. We have a 32-inch screen for me and another 56-inch screen for the rest of the guys. And the magnification is near 100 on 56-inch screen. And the stereo depth is just wow, you know, so much so that I have the Kinevo with me. I've been having it 6 months before I got the Exoscope, but I hardly use it. Not because it's an inferior scope, it is definitely the best scope out there. You can see how I'm dissecting it off from the vessel now. The Kinevo is definitely the best microscope out there, but it's definitely not the best viewing instrument, the visualization instrument. I would not say it's the best visualization instrument out there. It's definitely not the future. This is the future. So you can see the clarity of these images in 3D, in 4K, and I will know every single parameters. It's got the point log so that I can, you'll see it very soon, how I can maneuver inside a small cavity. So we keep on using the microsurgical technique, and you can see how the tumor is being dissected away from the vessel now. So we're doing that. What I want to show you here is not just this. This is one for the young neurosurgeons. I'm using my left hand here to do very precise cutting of the arachnoid. Some of the tumor stuck, so we are slowly dissecting it off the vessels. You can see the A3 there on one side, and on the other side, you can see how the tumor is attached to it. So you're cutting off all the arachnoid dissections, arachnoid attachments there. Keeping on removing it. Now you got tumor on the other side. Okay, so that's where the endoscope goes in. So the endoscope is going in. You can see with the exoscope, you cannot see that tumor. But with the endoscope, you can see the tumor behind. So this is where you definitely don't want to pull blindly, because it's attached to the vessel again. It's attached to the callosum marginal, so you don't really want to pull it. And if you have a bleeding, you're going to sit and wonder where is the bleeding from. Yes, you can use a dental mirror, but this is much more elegant than a dental mirror. A dental mirror is a missionary way of, I mean, if you don't have the endoscope and the holder, yes, I used to use the dental mirror. Of course, you can cut the forks, but that's not elegant too. But see this, on the exoscope, you're not seeing anything, even with the maximum tilt. But on the endoscope, it's a 30-degree endoscope. You're seeing the endoscope on the exoscope, and it's side by side. You're dissecting it off, taking this tumor out. I would say this is the most elegant way anywhere in the world that we can do these kind of tumors, or even clip some aneurysm, examine the clip. And very soon you're going to see how we're operating. You may think my assistant is holding the endoscope and directing it in. This is a pretty small craniotomy. I don't want an assistant in my way. So who's my assistant? All the vessels are saved. You can see all the vessels are completely okay. Everything looks good. Small craniotomy. You can see how small the craniotomy is. And this is when I want you to see how we are doing it. There's a video done on the phone showing what my position is. That's the exoscope. So my theater looks something like that. That's the exoscope, the robotic exoscope EOS. And we will see the endoscope holder there. That's the endoscope going in. That's the endoscope holder that we designed. And you can see it's a Franca Amica. It's mated to a neuropilot from the Esculap, and the neuropilot holds my endoscope. This time a Pernesky endoscope, 30-degree Pernesky endoscope. And you can see how we're operating. This is a phone recording. Just wanted you to show this. So that's one of the aneurysms I want to see. I want you to see. Let's see another one. We're going to show you a Pica aneurysm with the exoscope again. Now, this is a Pica aneurysm which had ruptured, and it's a bit difficult compared to the ones in the cisternum magna, and it's a bit more difficult than the ones which you see at the Pica origin, because this one is much more distal, and you have to dissect from the Pica origin. So that is where the vertebral artery is. You can see the zoom. That's a brainstem. That's a vertebral artery where the Pica is originating from. And those are the 9th, 10th nerves. The 11th will be going straight down there. That's a vertebral artery there. So you're going to see things at a very high zoom. So that is exactly what you're seeing. That's a brainstem. That's a vertebral artery. That's a Pica origin. And I'm going to go below the cerebellum. So this is exactly, again, the anatomy that you would want to see in this position. So this is where the Pica origin is from. So we are dissecting it nicely so that if I want a proximal clip, shouldn't be a problem. So the Pica origin is being dissected nicely. The cranial nerves are being mobilized away from the Pica origin very gently. You can see the nerves, 9/10 draping the Pica origin. So this has to be gently mobilized. And you're going to dissect the aneurysm. Here, we found a blister. So it was not normal vascular wall. So this is normal vascular wall. This is the proximal, this is the distal Pica, to which this aneurysm is this small, bulla is attached to. So it's not normal vascular wall. It's like a pseudoaneurysm coming out of the aneurysm. You'll see that right now. Now you're going ahead without any proximal control. We're not putting any clip on it. We're dissecting this bulla away from, it's going to be extremely, extremely delicate dissection. So a lot of time, I like just looking at them and sitting down, you know. Absolutely no movement, complete patience there. Here, one false movement can mean that the whole field gets nasty, and obviously you're not going to be able to clip this bullae unless you clip the main aneurysm, because this bulla is going to rupture on you. And if you, well, if you're not doing things in the right way, then you have very small margin of error, because the whole field is going to get full of blood. I'm sure the aneurysm surgeons watching this would know what I'm talking about. So we are dissecting this further and further, taking off all the arachnoid attachments. I'm speeding it up a bit, but the point is, see the magnification, see the image, and see the ease at which I'm able to do with whatever angle. So you can see now that the bulla is there, and the main aneurysm wall is still not come. You're still seeing the bulla. Slowly dissecting it, dissecting it. Now you have the aneurysm wall and the bulla. So that's the proximal pica. Proximal pica is coming, turning all the way like that, and going there. So this is the clip line. And this bulla is what ruptured. Okay, this is not the aneurysm that ruptured, it's that bulla, the daughter, which had ruptured. So this was what we were dissecting initially. And it's under extremely high zoom. So we are now dissecting further. One of the things I find with the younger generation is their patience runs very thin. They want instant gratification. Many of the fellows who were watching, they were saying, why can't you clip now? Well, I could, but the point is, I have to be happy seeing this corner. I got to see this corner. If I'm not seeing this corner, I can cause a small problem for the patient later on. So, well, you ask me, is it worth it dissecting all this? Yes, completely. And plus, we do neurosurgery not to rush around, clip and get out. If clipping and getting out is your target, then you did not take neurosurgery for the right reason. Okay, you took neurosurgery for the reason that you should be able to enjoy these dissections completely. So I'm slowly dissecting this bulla away, seeing it at low zoom, trying to see if I can get this bulla off the distal pica, and then seeing the corner. See, I have this pica coming in here, turning like that and going there. So I'm kind of clear about the anatomy. The thing that I want you to show, I didn't want to rush this video because I want you to see how much time I take. Now I'm putting in a clip. But I'm not happy because there is this arachnoid attachment which is not helping me to see that part. I try to close the clip, but no, I'm not happy. Taking it out. Then going and dissecting it again. Then I decide with this ceramic bipolar, I'm going to contract this bullae. Now I know it's suicidal, but now I have the proximal pica, and if it ruptures, so I'm going to show it to you from my YouTube, I suppose. Yes. This editing is let me show it to you from the YouTube. sorry for that, but having you to go to a video without really showing it, showing the entire video is not correct. So I'm going into my channel. Videos. Yeah, there's a Pica aneurysm. So this is where we were. So now I'm going to put bipolar this. You can see that I am telling myself, okay, I can see the proximal Pica, and I'm going to bipolar it gently so that I can shrink it so that I can see the corner without actually putting so much traction on it. Bipolar is at 5. Very gentle bipolaring. Keeping on, trying to keep on shrinking it. And after I do that, I'm going to zoom up. And now I'm kind of happy putting the clip in. And you'll see the reconstruction now. Now that thing is shrunk, so I'm going to put this clip without much problem. I got the clip blades past the Pica for reconstruction, and now I'm going to turn it out so that I can spare that entire Pica, and now comes the clip. Yes. And now you can see the entire Pica reconstructed beautifully. The bulla is out because this main aneurysm is clipped, and you can see the entire Pica's reconstructed now. So I'm gonna show you another case where we have a rupture. So let's show you a rupture. This is a rupture under the exoscope. Now, you may think, so this is an aneurysm which is acutely ruptured a few hours back, okay? We're going for it. You can see the zoom that I'm getting with the exoscope, okay? It was a very tight brain. So we went ahead, opened the cisterns. You can see on this side is the carotid and this side is the optic nerve. You can see the zoom that we are operating at. So opening all the cisterns, letting out CSF, getting the brain to be a bit more lax after the initial cisternostomy. And you see the kind of zoom and the kind of precision we can have while cutting the arachnoid. So here you can see the MCA, proximal MCA dissected out. There are some vessels in the field which we haven't mobilized excessively to avoid spasm. So here I'm kind of pretty sure this is my colleague doing this. He's dissecting the 2 branches of the MCA and the aneurysm. So he's going on dissecting, and that's precisely when the aneurysm started to leak. At this point, I had to come in, and you can see that the aneurysm started to leak here. And The problem here is, if I could put in a proximal clip, this aneurysm surgery would be over in seconds. But the problem is, you see this yellow plaques. These yellow plaques are everywhere. And you put a clip and the patient develops a deficit, you'll be wondering whether it's a vasospasm or one of those plaques broke and went into the MCA, producing an infarct. So I had decided that I'm not going to put in a temporary clip here. So am I able to do that with an exoscope? We'll have to find out, because if I'm really pressed, you know where, I would have to put the temporary clip in. But this aneurysm is ruptured, so it's an acute rupture, and now the clot is dislodged and it is leaking. So I have to go to the place where it's ruptured. So I'm now in action right now. So I'm going to the place where it's ruptured, and you see what's happening right now. I'm trying to make some space between the two vessels, and this is what happened. Well, if you're doing aneurysm surgeries, this is something that must be routine for you, because you ever think that you can become an aneurysm surgeon without having seen rupture? Well, it's like learning swimming with an online course. Unless you had semi-drowned many times, you're never going to be a good swimmer. So here my assistants are gently, politely asking me, shall we put the temporary clip in? So I said, chill, relax, let me handle this. And I have a fantastic team, It includes my wife, Salona Amatia. I have Hari Singh, I have Chinmay. All these are Pavan, my PGs. All these guys are pretty good, very good. If not for them, I would not be able to handle this, because you see, one section is not mine. The one section is from my assistant. So there's no shouting, no shaking, no excess adrenaline. It's just business as usual. So we got the suction to the head without any proximal clip. We didn't wait till the BP is completely down or something, or the patient is completely bled out. So now the blood is going into the suction, and I'm going to give a rap on the aneurysm's head saying, you naughty aneurysm. That's it. And I see, where's that angle? And now I can put a clip. That aneurysm is filling gently. My anesthetist has got the BP down, and I'm going to just clip it. So no temporary clip here. Very gently, very gently. And you can see both the branches. This is one branch. This is another branch, the MCA. The aneurysm is beautifully clipped, reconstructing the MCA angle. So, and this patient went home in 4 days, walked home, no deficits at all. Okay. So this is another case that I wanted to show you. Now, let me show you an STMC anastomosis. There's a giant cavernous aneurysm. And you can see the size of these ST grafts with the exoscope. You can even see the vasa vasorum. You can see those vasa vasorum with it. So you're doing this. This is this giant cavernous aneurysm. She did not fail the BTO, but on the angiogram, we felt that there was a little bit of delayed filling. So you don't need a high flow bypass for that, for sure. I mean, most of the guys don't even do a bypass. They just close it off. But we wanted to make sure that with a hypotension, she doesn't go into any problems. So We did this STMC, which many people think is easy, but it's much more difficult than a high flow. A high flow is a large anastomosis. It's a easy IC or a radial artery bypass or a saphenous artery bypass is a very large anastomosis. So my battery is running low. So, and I'm on the way. So I just need to speeden up things a bit. So here is the anastomosis going on. 6 sutures on each side, all done with the exoscope and the ICG on the exoscope. And the next video, the next in the series is going to be anterolateral skull base. So we're going to show you about cavernous sinus surgery, open cavernous sinus surgery, then Kawas's approach where we dissect the entire V1, V2, V3 and go into the petroclival junction with a small Kawase drilling between the 5th nerve and the 7th nerve. That's the thing that I'm going to show you next Sunday. And till then, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to be here till my laptop gongs off. So any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you very much.
Okay, Abe, thanks a lot. I hope the people get involved here and interact with you. So any questions or comments, feel free to either say it on camera or just write it in the chat and we'll address that issue. Okay.
Anybody wants to ask questions?
Well, I'm not a neurosurgeon, but one of the advantages of the exoscope is that you can use 2 hands in the field. You don't have to guide the scope with your hand.
No, I don't have to touch the scope with my hand. I just put the scope first to a field, and after that, everything is on my footrest. So I have this joystick, and I have a pivot function where I point lock the scope, and it'll keep rotating around that point. I even have a function where I can the scope can remember where it was. So I kind of save a waypoint, and then if I go to another place and I want to recall that waypoint to see where I was dissecting at that particular point of time, it'll come back to that point. I can save up to 5 waypoints. So I can come back to any point where I was dissecting in. So these are all fantastic things. You know, I mean, right now I've looked at all the scopes. I've started with our own exoscope, which we made with Alicante University in 2016. And then we saw the Synaptive one, which was 2D. Then we saw the 3D Synaptive. We saw the Olympus Orbi. And we saw the Karl Stowe's Whitome, which was not really an exoscope, it's just a camera mounted on a very nonsensical arm, if I must say so. I'm sorry. But it's a beautiful camera mounted on a complete nonsensical arm. I wish they could make it into a robot. I've told them many times, but I'm not sure Karl Stowe's understands what the surgeons want, at least. So I hope they make the change, and there is some competition. And of course, every company is now making scopes. I was in Bangalore the other day. 2 days back, I was in Bangalore. I was leading the World Skull Base last day of dissection, where we showed the transcavernous as well as the Kawas's approach, and everything was done with the Indian exoscope. It was not, of course, it was not up to the standards. They have to improve a lot. It is not like an exoscope, EOS exoscope or the Olympus one, but nonetheless, it had beautiful magnification. It had some decent stereo depth, and it's only 1/10 the cost, you see. So I hope these guys improve too. And, you know, we'll have and there was a lot of young neurosurgeons who were trying, and, you know, it's for us, it's like a divorce and then a remarriage, because the divorce is very difficult because we've been working with the microscope for many years. And for these young neurosurgeons, there's no divorce. They just can marry straight off. They can get into a relationship with an exoscope straight off, and that's a great advantage for them.
Is there a big learning curve, to learn how to operate?
Well, I would say for a guy who's been trained under the microscope, it'll take about a month or so to get used to the scope and its functions, because everything is on the foot, zoom, focus, pivot, moving X, Y, everything is, you don't touch the scope at all.
Okay.
So that's the main difference. So if you are getting used to that, for a young guy, I don't think it'll take much time. I think maybe about 15 days to one month. And I saw many of these guys doing anastomosis. We were having anastomosis courses many parts of the world, and I see they are taking to it like a fish to water. So it's very easy for them. The young guys, very easy, but it's the future.
Okay, very good. Okay, we have a question. Ben, David, Chandra, go ahead.
Yes.
Hey, Dr.
Hi, Dr.
Hi.
Hello,
Hi,
Dr.
Ben.
Sarian. Thank you so much for this talk. It was a pleasure to listen in. I was wondering about the situation where you, I'm a medical student still, so I don't know, I don't have any practical experience yet. I was wondering about the moment where you used the bipolar to directly directly applied it to the wall of the aneurysm, or to the bulla of the aneurysm, which was something I thought was not possible or not advised, as to not induce any like vasospasm or any spasm in the aneurysm itself or something. So I was wondering if you could explain why you were able to do that and the purpose. Yeah,
so you wanted to know why I did that?
No, I mean, you said that you shrunk the bulla, which I could see, but I didn't understand why that was.
Yeah, so I wanted to see that. I wanted to see the Pica angle. Well, if it was, see, it's stages. I mean, we have over 1,000 to 1,500 range of aneurysms. So that's the numbers which we have. So if it was in my first 500, I probably wouldn't have done that. Okay, over the last 15 years, we have the experience so that if something goes wrong, we are able to deal with that. We are sure that we are going to be able to deal with that. So that is why I did that, and I wanted the perfect visualization. So that's why I did that. Now, if you bipolar a bulla, there's not going to be any vasospasm, because that's nowhere related to the vascular wall. If bipolaring the aneurysm, maybe yes, but the bulla is something which has come out of an aneurysm. So it's not even with all three walls. So you're not going to have any vasospasm. Of course, the biggest risk is rupture. And if it ruptures, since I have proximal control, since I'm in a position to clip, I can put in a not so perfect clip to start with and make it perfect later on, okay, with a proximal clip. So it's not going to be a big issue for me.
Wow, thank you. So the bulla doesn't even have the muscular wall of the.
Yes, absolutely. So it's a it's a very, very, very dangerous thing to do.
That's great. I mean, it looked crazy, but yeah.
You must see all our surgeries. You will say the same thing over and over again. But that's what neurosurgery is about. I mean, since you're a medical student, I'll tell you, you're taking up neurosurgery not for being in the comfort zone. You're going to take it so that, when you do neurosurgery, you're sure about things, but other people think it's crazy. It's like, well, that's the same thing with the card dealer. He does some card tricks and you think it's impossible, but he does it. It's the same with an F1 driver. You think driving at 400 and maneuvering is crazy, but he's pretty competent. He's confident about it. And if you're taking up neurosurgery, that's the kind of training I want you to undergo. And instead of standardizing neurosurgical treatment, that's so every Tom, Dick, and Harry can do it, and literature looks good, and we have p-values, this is what you should be doing. This is what you will enjoy.
I think I will.
Very
Okay,
good.
Ben, any other questions? John, I think I'm going down on my laptop juice, and I don't know how long I can hang on with.
Okay, let's see if we get another question or comment from anybody. Now's your chance. Until next week. And next week, what are we gonna do, Ike?
Next week, we're going to do anterolateral skull-base surgery and the
Okay.
entire anterolateral. So I'm going to show you cadaveric sections. Then I'm going to show you a complete cavernous sinus tumor with all the cranial nerves completely defined. And then I'm going to go back and show you another case where we have done a petroclival cystic solid lesion, where we have just done a very tailored drilling of the petrous apex and gone between the 5th and the 7th nerve and identified the 4th nerve, cut the tent and took out the tumor from between the brainstem basilar artery. So this is what we're going to show tomorrow. I mean, the next Sunday. And the last Sunday is going to be different, because the last Sunday we're going to be talking about something that I've talked many times in different conferences. I started off in Mexico, and it was a big hit in Mexico because more than all my other talks, this one gathered a lot of momentum. So a lot of people wanted it redone again. So this is about success, happiness, fitness, and spirituality for the neurosurgeon. So how does a neurosurgeon balance life? So what is it about? Is it about money? Is it about success? It's about how do you maintain your fitness? What is your spirituality? What is happiness for you? And this is my take on it. And this is what I'm going to show you on the 3rd Sunday. And I believe this is important because it's a new era of neurosurgery. And instead of thinking that neurosurgery is done the hard way and neurosurgery has to be something sadistic, and we've all got to be unkind in neurosurgery, and we've all got to struggle, and we've got to be doing work from morning till evening and no innovations. Instead of that, we are going to show you a new level of neurosurgery. That's the 3rd talk.
Okay, very good. Okay, any close? We have a neurosurgeon from Vietnam, Dr. Trung. I don't know, sometimes they can't really talk. They're in the hospital doing rounds. But okay, thanks a lot for your time, and we're going to see you next week.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Send me the video. Once you're done with it, I'll share it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, John. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks a lot, man.